Before we start, just a quick reminder. The views and content shared on this podcast are for entertainment purposes only and are not a substitute for professional advice. Please check the full disclaimer in the show notes for more information.
Welcome to Self-Centered, the podcast that's all about you. We're your hosts.
I'm Allie, a therapist and life coach.
And I'm Katie, a fitness coach and personal trainer. We know what it's like to feel burnt out, taken for granted, and like your life revolves around everyone but yourself.
By learning to trust yourself, prioritize your needs, and set healthy boundaries, we help you break free from guilt, overfunctioning, and toxic patterns that keep you stuck in relationships and a life that doesn't truly serve you.
Join us each week as we dive into the tools, stories, and mindset shifts you need to create a life that centers you.
Because being self-centered isn't selfish, it's essential. All right, so today we are going to talk about confidence. Last time we talked about self-esteem, which definitely is similar to confidence, but it is different. Confidence isn't something that you're just born with. It's something that you need to build and develop. It's not the same as self-esteem. In fact, the biggest mistake that I see people making is waiting until they feel confident to act. When the truth is that confidence actually comes from action, especially when it comes to difficult situations like setting boundaries or facing manipulative people. So we're going to talk about all of that. We're going to apply this to developing confidence, to how do you deal with manipulative people so that you can maintain your confidence, because I'm sure y'all have been in relationships where people break down your confidence. So we want to build that back up, and then we also want to get you confident in communicating with these people and setting boundaries with these people so that you can protect your confidence. So by the end of the episode, you will understand what real confidence is, how it differs from self-esteem, how to start building it with practical tools that you can use even in your hardest moments. So we'll talk about what's the difference between confidence and self-esteem. Last time we talked about self-esteem, and that's really your overall sense of self-worth and who you believe you are, whereas confidence is what you believe you can do. So confidence is specific to a task or ability, whereas self-esteem is more global and general. Albert Bandura, who is a psychologist, he did research back in, I think, the 50s, and he described confidence as self-efficacy, which is the belief in your ability to influence events and outcomes in your life. And it's built not just by thinking positively or, just having a confident mindset, but by taking action and accumulating what he calls mastery experiences. So mastery experiences are really about attempting something, being reasonably successful with it, and then feeling like that's a win or a step forward. Like mastery doesn't mean becoming a master. It doesn't mean that you're an expert. It doesn't mean you've perfected it, but it does mean that you've taken even a teeny step and you feel like it was successful and that it moved you closer to your goal.
One thing that makes me think of is just like having evidence. Evidence that, okay, I've done this before. I know that it can work out correctly, as opposed to just like all the thoughts of the possibilities. It's like, oh, wait, no, I've seen this in action before and I can reference that this moment happened and this is how I handled it and it worked.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that's why at first we don't have confidence in the things that we haven't yet experienced ourselves through, because we don't have that evidence yet. And that's why we need that action and accumulation of experience in order to feel confident. But I do think that we can get to a place where, okay, well, I've accomplished other hard things. I've gone through other hard things in the past. And so now I feel more confident that I can figure this out too.
Yeah. It's like evidence of firsts. I've done a bunch of things the first time and I know that it worked out, so I can be trusting that I can try something new and not lose my shit.
No, totally. Yeah. And confidence is really feeling like you can handle things, right? Like I'm competent, which there are 3 pillars of confidence. And the first one is competence. And that is built by taking small repeated actions that prove to your nervous system that you're capable. Oh, Bandura did the research in 1977 on mastery experiences, not in the 50s. But he said that these experiences are the biggest confidence builder. So I was thinking about applying this to our podcast, like literally you and I creating the podcast, because before we did, we had no idea how to record. We didn't even know like what equipment we needed. We've never done anything like this before.
We basically sat on a couch in the middle of your studio and said, let's record off of the computer. I think we'll just do this as a Zoom recording. We'll figure this out.
I know, because I got a microphone and then it didn't work. And we're just like, whatever, let's just start and have it not be perfect, right?
Yeah.
Like perfection is the enemy of the good. Perfection is the enemy of not starting and therefore not building those mastery experiences. So it's like, yeah, we're just going to do this on the laptop and go for it.
Yeah, wait. Okay, hold on. We should say that again, though, because that is really important for all the perfectionists out there, is perfection is the enemy of not building mastery experiences because you don't even try, because you cut yourself out and say, oh, well, I don't know how to do this, so I'm just not going to start at all until I have more information or whatnot. Right. But then you get anxious, or I get anxious. I'll talk for myself. I get anxious about it of like, okay, well, even once I have the information, I still don't have the experience. You just have to do it.
I know. Oh. It's so true. I've so been there. And I still have to kind of like coach myself through that. But it is one of those things where you're like, ooh, I have this idea in my head, but I don't think that I can pull that off because I would have to become, like, I want to have a doctorate in everything. Like, I literally want to go learn the ins and outs of, like, so many things. And if I can't learn that much, then it's not enough for me. You know what I mean? And it's like, so you think of the ideal and it's like, I would be an expert. I would do it perfectly. And it's like, actually, a little bit good enough is good enough, and you learn as you go. So with the podcast, we just kept showing up, and along the way, we've learned how to edit better. I mean, there's still things for us to learn, but we definitely have had mastery experiences with the podcast because, I don't know, I'm just thinking of what are the different examples of things we've learned by just going for it?
Well, I just think about like even the episodes that we haven't had like planned to a T and like known for sure, okay, well, this is exactly what we want to talk about. Like we just go in with, okay, we're going to be open-minded to the process and the experience. And like there are things that we want to talk about and things we want to reference, but I don't know how they're going to fit together and I don't know when it's going to fit together. And then we just figure it out and it just flows and it ends up working out and it ends up coming together. And it's like, okay, that's for me a reassurance that like there is so much value in the things that we're doing, even if we don't always feel like we have our shit together. It's not perfect in quotes, you know, but we're still showing up. It's like, oh wait, this is still accomplishing the goal of the impact that we want it to.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. It's about making sure that we are giving people, like, people need to hear X thing. Okay, let's do an episode about that. Like, this is important. And, you know, down the road, it might be like, okay, well, we want to talk about this piece of that concept that we didn't talk about in that episode. And that's fine. Like, it doesn't have to be everything. We can just show up and talk. And so many people have said it's so helpful. So that definitely helps, you know, keep going. Yeah. Something that we'll talk about later, too, is growth mindset. And that's important for confidence. And it's like knowing that we can improve over time, right? And that it doesn't have to be a certain way really helps. And having this intrinsic motivation of, this is really important to us. And so we're just going to do it no matter what it looks like. So the second pillar of confidence is courage, which is acting in the presence of fear, not its absence. So courage is not being scared. Double negative, right? So courage is something that happens when you are scared. You act anyway, right? It's like feel the fear and do it anyway. And this aligns with Brené Brown's research that courage comes before confidence. So we need to be courageous and act in the presence of fear. She talks about courage being choosing to show up and be seen when we have no control over the outcome. And in her research, she found that every act of courage requires vulnerability, which is uncertainty, risk, and emotional exposure. So it's a risk when you show up and you're seen. And I mean, this is another good, we can use the podcast for this example as well, right? Like, we don't have control over the outcome of how people are going to feel. Some people are going to love it. Some people are going to hate it. Some people are going to think negatively of us. Some people are going to think, oh my God, thank goodness you're doing this, right? So we're not certain about this. There's a risk and there's emotional exposure. I mean, I've definitely, had experiences based on us showing up and doing this that have exposed me emotionally, and definitely something that I had to manage and work through, but it's worth it. Mm-hmm. And that's part of confidence, is that either way, I'm okay. So I can show up and be myself, not know what the outcome is, and it's okay. With confidence, for other examples, I can try something new like pickleball. I tried pickleball for the first time last year. I love it so much. And I showed up. None of my friends play. So I showed up and did a one-on-one class. And did I know how, I could have been awful at it. I could have maybe not even understood what they were teaching and felt really embarrassed. But it takes courage to show up and do that anyway, and know that either way, I'm okay. If I embarrass myself, if I don't understand anything, if those people think she's dumb or so bad at this, I'm okay. Mm-hmm. Right. And so feeling that fear and doing it anyway is allowing yourself to be vulnerable in that way and take that risk.
Well, I think that's just such an interesting perspective to take, that when I think about confidence, or I think about a confident person, I generally think about someone who doesn't experience fear and uncertainty and whatnot. But it's actually saying that you experience these things and you act in spite of it. Alongside of it, you're holding space for, hey, I'm really, uncertain about the possibility. There is risk that I can recognize, and it is an opportunity for me to experience some emotional exposure. I might feel vulnerable in the moment, right? And it's saying that, okay, I'm holding all of this, and I know that if I take the next step, I'm going to receive some sort of positive outcome, whether that's even just assurance that, hey, I can take the next step, even if it doesn't pull through the way that I want it to, or it's building, the foundation of okay, the outcome becomes what I want it to. But it's just such an interesting perspective, because I would assume that I'm not confident if I'm feeling that uncertainty, that risk, etc. But it's actually, that's the opportunity of, oh, hey, you have a moment where you're feeling uncertain, where you are observing risk. You're seeing that there's a possibility for things to be vulnerable. That's your moment.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. And I think that what you're talking about, the person who is confident and truly never feels any kind of nerves or fear, that's probably someone who's just not connected to themselves.
Right. Oh, yeah.
That's someone who needs to see, who believes that fear is weakness, or
they're
feeling
probably just
nervous.
Cocky at that point.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
Yeah.
So if you're feeling nervous, that doesn't mean that you're not a confident person. Yeah. And so this can kind of reframe the way that we think of a confident person. And over time, when because we can think about confidence at different phases of level of mastery, right? Where are you? Are you recording your first podcast, or are you recording your 500th podcast? Your level of confidence is definitely different. And at your 500th podcast, you probably don't feel as much fear, right? So it's toward the end of the process that you're applying these 3 pillars of confidence to and developing, right? You're stepping into courage. That happens in the beginning. And then toward the end, usually you're just whatever. But then with something new in your life, right? Because confidence is specific to that specific context. So with something new, you're still going to feel nervous.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Then the 3rd pillar is self-trust. And vulnerability fuels self-trust. So confidence isn't I'll nail it. It's I'll show up, stay with myself, and handle what happens. Right? Self-trust has so much overlap with being self-centered. So Brene Brown's research shows that people who live what she calls wholeheartedly have a strong sense of self-trust because they honor their boundaries, they own their stories, their experiences, and they speak their truth even when it's hard. And that self-trust makes them feel capable, worthy, and resilient, which is confidence, right? That competence, courage. If you trust yourself, you are more likely to be able to take those risks. And courage requires risking rejection, and surviving it builds inner strength. So when you take that risk and you trust yourself to do that, it's because either way, I'm okay. And where does that belief of either way, I'm okay come from? This inner strength that you build when the outcome isn't what you wanted it to be. So when you say no, when you speak up, when you try something new, or you let yourself be seen, you risk being misunderstood and judged. But every time that you survive that risk and stay grounded and centered in yourself, then your inner strength and confidence grow. And this definitely does have overlap with self-esteem, because if you stay grounded in yourself, you're aligning your behaviors with your values.
Oh.
I love
I
you
get
so
it
much.
now.
You're so funny. So self-trust, it's like you can navigate whatever outcome happens. And you know that because of your consistent values aligned actions that you've taken. So here's the cycle that happens. So you know your values, which we should do an episode on identifying your values, right? But you have clarity around your values. You know what they are. Then you act in alignment with them, which is having integrity. Then after consistently acting in alignment with those values, you prove to yourself that you're trustworthy. So that builds self-trust. Then that trust deepens your self-esteem, right? There's this belief that I'm enough because I act in ways that make me feel proud, grounded, and self-respecting because I'm aligned with my values. I'm proud that I'm aligned with my values. I'm grounded in my values. I respect myself because I follow through on acting in alignment with my values. And then that also empowers confidence in action. I can handle this. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah.
Your eyes are like...
I'm just like just like an overarching observation that I'm having in life is how important self-trust is.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
you and I have learned that lesson over the last few years.
Part of it obviously is the piece of like, okay, trusting your gut and your intuition, but also building that trust within yourself. Mm-hmm. Like listening to that voice inside of you, and again, acting in like literally everything that you're saying here, acting in alignment with it. Okay, it empowers confidence. Yeah, like I get it. It's just damn, like,
yeah.
I wish in life I would have put more emphasis.
Me too.
In aligning that.
We weren't taught to, though.
I know.
We were taught the opposite. I mean, that's why we're doing this. That's why we're doing this podcast, because so many of us are taught to, don't tune into your internal guidance system. I know better than you. I know right and wrong. I know what a good person is. Yeah. This is how you do that. It's so prescriptive. And then we're like, well, we want to be good. We don't want to hurt anyone.
Yeah. Yeah. And there's such like an image conversation. Like I think of, again, in the South, I feel like that was very much the case, is like you have to come to the conversation poised and perfect. And no one's going to know that you didn't have all your shit together. And if you didn't have all of your shit together, you'd lie about it. I mean, there was a lack of authenticity there. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Just so much of this. I'm just, wow.
Mm-hmm. But I think it's kind of similar to how with anxiety, what anxiety makes you avoid the thing that you're anxious about. And the more that you avoid that thing that you're anxious about, the more anxious you become. Yeah. And I think it's probably similar with self-trust, where the more that you look to other people or act as if you have your quote unquote shit together, which if we deconstruct that really fast, it's like, that's just like a made up having your shit together is this made up ideal, and it's not connected to like what an actual imperfect human is.
Right.
And so it's like, okay, I have to act as if I'm not who I am. And so then that keeps reinforcing shame over and over again. I'm not good enough, because if I were good enough, I wouldn't have to have this mask and pretend.
Yeah.
And so then if I'm not good enough, why would I trust myself?
Yeah.
So I think it's this cycle that just keeps itself going. And so I think it does take someone teaching you and showing you it's okay. And like, and also, how do you even tune into yourself?
Okay, so I was literally just about to like offer an exercise for people. So there are moments where I've just sat in the stillness of my own thoughts and I'm like, okay, what's the first thing that comes to mind? Or like, what's the, like, if I just randomly decided to act on whatever my impulse is, and assuming impulse is a safe thing, right? Like my impulse would be like, go to the beach today, or like, you know, or like order a grilled cheese for, like, I don't know. This is like so, just literally the smallest things. And the reason it has to be the smallest things for me though, is because when the self-trust is not there and when I haven't been tuning in, nothing else is safe. The big decisions aren't safe, right?
Yeah, you
so
need
it has
a
to be
lower
some
stakes.
Yes, low stakes, low risk, right? And so, I don't know, maybe consider practicing that of like, sit in the silence with yourself, listen in, see what does your body just like randomly bring up to you? What does your mind randomly bring up to you? Like, oh man, I really wish I could. Or, you know, this would feel really good. And it might be something small like a grilled cheese, or it might be something big like, hey, sell all of your things and travel the world. I don't know. Like, but also, but like that, so going from grilled cheese to travel the world seems really crazy. But you don't get to travel the world, the big one, the big idea, right? The big thing that requires a lot of
High
self-trust.
stakes, yeah.
Yeah, without doing the grilled cheese. And so I don't know, maybe just try that of like, well, what's the little thing that comes to your mind that you stuff down because you're like, oh no, I'm not this, I'm not that. That would be silly. It would be silly for me to sit in a restaurant by myself or go to a movie alone.
Yeah.
Would it?
Yeah,
Or
right?
is that just what you believe? Is that just what people have made you think?
Yeah, I love that. Yeah, take that moment. It's making me think about the high stakes choice I made to move to San Diego.
Yes.
And, like, move everything across the country and then move back a year later. But
Unrelated. I'm so glad you did the first one.
me, me too. I think about coming back to California all the time, and I'm like, I don't fucking know. But I mean, that was a risk, and that
It's a massive risk.
took courage. And I decided I didn't want to stay there and live there, but I don't regret it at all. At all.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. Maybe I'd regret it if I didn't meet you. But I learned more about myself and what I want and what I need. And so even if the intended outcome is not what you wanted it to be, you can always learn something.
Yes.
So even when it's that high stakes thing, and I'm not saying just like make these decisions willy-nilly, and I agree with you that to build that self-trust muscle, you can start with something lower stakes. And then as you get better at interpreting what your body and your brain are saying to you, then you are more confident in making that higher stakes choice. And you should learn that first. Like, what's the language of me?
And I think that will give you information. You can correct me if I'm wrong because you're the expert on this one, but that will give you information of, is the thought like just, what is that? Like an impulsive thought, or is it actually something with meaning? Like, is it coming from somewhere deep in my core of something that isn't in line with me? Or is it just, you know, a random ass
Noise.
Yeah. Yes. Thank you. Oh my God. The words signal versus noise. It's like we did so many episodes on that.
Okay. Yeah, no, definitely. So how do you build confidence? Just a very quick, like, step by step, if it helps you to have a little bit of structure and a little more guidance around it. So you build confidence through practice. And so you want to get specific about, well, what am I trying to get confident in? Setting boundaries, working through conflict, public speaking, creating a podcast, socializing. That's one of the things that I needed to get more confident in after the pandemic and shutdown happened, because I was like, I don't even remember, like, I don't even know how to talk to people anymore. Like, I don't know how to do that. So you want to identify, like, what is that thing? Then break it down into the smallest steps that you can take to take action on that. And so it's like, for socializing, it's, well, to start off, like, very, very basic, I can literally go sit at a coffee shop and work, and I can make small talk with the barista. I can, when I'm at the grocery store, I can make a little bit of small talk with the cashier, right? So you can start really low stakes, and I think that's really great. And then increase that over time so that it's, okay, so now I'm going to, let's see, like a exercise class, and I'm going to talk to people. And maybe it's, okay, I'm going to ask a friend to hang out, and right. And then maybe over time it's like, okay, I'm going to open up about how I'm feeling about something and be a little more vulnerable. So break it down, identify your steps, and then you want to take action, right? When you're taking action, step 3 is normalize discomfort for yourself. You're going to feel fear, and that's okay. So that fear is noise, right? It's not a signal that you need to hide or stop taking action. It's just noise, and that's okay. It's just because it's uncomfortable to do new things, right? And according to Brené Brown's work, this discomfort is the exact entry point to becoming more confident. It's how you know that you're doing something meaningful. Step 4 is identify the evidence, right? So identify the little successes, right? So the success does not need to be, I had the outcome that I was looking for. It could be, ooh, I learned about what doesn't work.
Yeah.
Right? Or I learned that I need to support myself in this way, or I need to go learn about this thing. So yeah, identify the evidence that you're making progress, and that progress does not have to be like concrete, tangible progress. It can literally be like, okay, well, I know I actually want to be going in this direction, not that direction. For socialization, one of the things for me that I recently realized is that, so I saw this TikTok, and it was this girl who was like, if you want to make friends in your like 30s and 40s, it's way harder than in your 20s. Agree so far. And in your 20s, you just need to be like kind of cool and like down for things and whatever, and that's fine. But in your 30s, you have to be interesting and you have to provide value. And I was like, what? And I'm like, but I kind of get it. Because like, and she was like, you need to enjoy your life. You need to be passionate about something and like interested in something. And I'm like, you know what? When I think about the people that I want to hang out with, that is true. And so I was like, okay, well, how could I provide more value to, I mean, not you, because I feel like I already do. You provide it to me too. But I mean like the friendships that I want to strengthen a bit in my life, who I don't see as often or talk to as often. And I was like, I noticed in myself, what came up was, well, if you provide too much value, it'll create codependence, and then they'll become dependent on you, and then you'll get trapped. And I'm like, okay, good to know that that's there. I did not know that I had that belief. And so that's progress, right? Yeah. I didn't even physically take an action. The action was me reflecting on, okay, what would it mean to provide value? And then I was like, don't do that. And then it's like, holy shit, have I been holding out on my friends because I think they might become codependent? Like with you, I don't feel like that. Maybe because I lived with you. So it was like a situation that's ripe for, if you were going to do that, you were going to do that. But I think like from the beginning, you and I, our foundation was set with us saying, I'm looking for a roommate that like, we don't need to be friends. And then we just happen to be friends. And it's been very, like, I've never felt like you were too dependent on me, or like you take responsibility for working through your stuff. And then like you come to me, I love how much you come to me for support and stuff like that, and like talking through things. And I do the same with you. But I also trust that like, if I said, hey, and I guess it's just normal. Because I was about to say, I trust that if I say, hey, I can't talk about that, I don't have the bandwidth, that you'd respect it. And then I'm like, well, but the reason that I trust it is because that's happened. But it hasn't even happened in this big, like, Katie, you're too much. It's literally just normal in our friendship. Like, it's not a big deal. It's normal to be like, oh, my brain's not working right now. Let's try again in a couple days. Like,
Yeah.
it's so accepted. Like, it's not weird at all. So I guess maybe that's why with you, I'm like fine with it. But anyway, so that's just a really good example of I haven't even gone out and provided any value yet. But I have identified like, ooh, this is a block for me.
Yeah.
Okay, let me think through that. And so it's like, okay, is that a signal or noise? Or is there part of it that's a signal and part of it that's noise? And what I've come to so far, just a little side note, is that a lot of it is noise because the friends that I already have been vetted pretty much. But also, even with potential new friends who haven't been vetted yet, I know, and I guess this is the signal part, I know how to handle, like, if a boundary is crossed or if it becomes too much, I can nip that in the bud. Whereas in the past, when I did end up trapped in these codependent relationships, it's because I didn't start them from a place of me being self-centered.
That one.
Yeah.
That one. Yes. No. Okay. So that was something I was going to say, that like our friendship and us living together, it was a really unique experience for me initially because you would set boundaries and say things in such a nonchalant, non-judgmental way that it was so obvious that this is normal. It's okay to be like, oh yeah, my brain just doesn't work. Sorry, I need to not think about that right now. And that's it, right?
Yeah.
Or we still need to do an episode on this because I really think it's a fun thought. It's a lighthearted thought of, but like saying something like, "Oh, that's a bummer,"
Yes,
instead
we
of like,
should.
right? But the framing and the attitude that you have towards something, like if you were to come to me instead of saying like, oh yeah, I just don't have the brainwidth or the bandwidth for that right now. The brainwidth.
My brain is so skinny today.
I just don't have the bandwidth for that right now. Like, let's talk about that tomorrow. But if you were to come to me and be like, oh, wow, like that's a lot. I really feel like you're putting a lot of pressure on me right now. And like this, God, like this is a lot of energy for me to expend. And wow, it just feels like every time that we're talking that our relationship is so draining. And there's two totally different framings there.
Yeah, that's so true.
Like coming to it of like, oh wow, I feel like I have to be always on for our friendship. Like, just the words that you say and the way that you approach it is totally different. And the way that you approach it is normalizing it.
Yeah, so true.
And there's no judgment behind it. And so that would be the reflection that I would encourage for most people. And that was the reflection that I had with you is, oh, these things don't have to be a big deal.
Yeah.
Chill the fuck out for a second. Cause like me and my anxiety will like ramp up and I'll like go down the doomsday of
Which
like.
to validate is based on relationships where it was a big deal.
Correct. And I think your concern as well. Well, here we are validating each other. Your concern as well.
You're valid because.
But your concern as well of, oh, okay, I'm worried about codependent relationships and like people taking advantage of me and like you had that experience through your family situations.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so, it makes sense that you're really concerned that the people in your life would take advantage of you and would depend on you and need you and require that you like meet all these needs for them when they're not meeting them for themselves. So like our noise comes into play because it was a signal initially.
It doesn't come from nowhere. Exactly.
Yes. And as you become more self-centered, you've started filtering out the people that don't align with what you need and want in your relationships in your life. So like that's a piece of information that your signals can become noise and your noise can become signals for certain reasons, right? Exactly. You have to constantly be reflecting. There's no rule that's going to stay the same forever if your life is ever evolving.
Yes. Yes. And just a quick recap. I don't know if I think I've explained it, but just a quick reminder. Signals are when there's an actual issue or something that needs attention, like legitimately needs attention. And so the way to respond to that signal is to start giving it attention and to start problem solving or researching or taking steps to address it. noise is unhelpful and or it's not true. It actually might be true that some people, like especially if they're new friendships, I can miss something and then they end up having an expectation of me that like because I was there for them one time or supportive and because I just am like kind of a therapist-y personality. Like the way I hang out and the way I think and the way I talk about stuff is like very introspective and I want to get to know people. And then like when they're sharing about themselves, then I'm curious. So I ask questions and it can feel like therapy and I don't even like know it. Like people will say, oh my gosh, it feels like therapy. And I'm like, oh, really? Because I'm not doing therapy. Like I don't have like an identified goal that I'm like helping you move toward. You know what I mean? I'm just being curious, but that adds value. And so it might be true that there are some people who at first it feels like, okay, this is healthy because it's working out. But then I didn't know this in the future. I find out in the future, oh, they're expecting that all the time. And if I'm not available for them if and when they decide that they need that or want that kind of conversation, then it means I'm being a bad friend, right? Or I'm being selfish. So it might be true, this noise thought, that there might be people that I find out, oh, they're kind of like taking advantage of the value I provide or taking it for granted and they feel entitled to it. But it's not helpful for me to keep thinking about that because that's going to box me out of these other people. And then the piece of that that's a signal is, well, I need to make sure that I have good boundaries so that if and when that does show up, I know how to handle it so that it doesn't continue. Anyway, that was a long little tangent that I think was still helpful and added value. So that's great. But what we were talking about is step 4, which is just identifying the evidence, right? In what ways are the steps that I'm taking successful? And then step 5 is like, okay, well, let's reflect and celebrate, right? Like I'm doing the thing. What does it mean about me that I'm even doing this? So even if I didn't get the outcome that I wanted, so that you can keep thinking about yourself in a positive light, even when it doesn't go according to plan. Okay, so how do you maintain confidence? All right. So repetition, right? Confidence builds through consistency of taking action, and you want to remember your past wins in the moments when you are feeling scared and not so courageous, right? So you can come up with proof that, hey, I have done hard things before and I can do hard things again. Remember when I handled this really hard thing? Remember when I thought I wouldn't be able to get through it? Well, you did. You also want to shift from a fixed mindset to a growth mindset. So a fixed mindset, right? And this is, I'm sure everyone's heard of Carol Dweck's mindset research. There's a book that I think is called Growth Mindset. And, her fixed mindset idea is all about, I'm either good at this or bad at this, right? And if I'm not good at this right away, then I give up. Yeah. Whereas a growth mindset is there's room to grow. I can learn. It's okay. And clean your environment. So this is like your mental environment.
Take out the trash.
Take out the trash. Yeah. So limit exposure to people or social media content that gaslights you, diminishes you, or hijacks your belief in yourself, and surround yourself with people who are clear mirrors, who mirror your growth, have that growth mindset, and recognize that being vulnerable and putting yourself out there and taking these steps is what matters, not whether or not you are achieving XYZ.
And eventually the achievement will come with the action, but you can't expect to be there at day one.
Right. Yeah. And I think going back to that more kind of cocky confidence of the person who quote unquote doesn't feel fear, right? But it's just because they're disconnected from their fear. They've numbed their fear. I think that those types of people might see you quote unquote fail, right? You take a step and yes, the outcome wasn't what you wanted it to be, but you learned something, right? Then they might make fun of you for that. And you don't want to let that happen because then you won't reach your goal in the end. So you have to keep at it. So for the selfies, because we know that one of the reasons that you struggle to be self-centered, I'm sure, is because there are people who do diminish you, right? And so we want to apply confidence to how do you become confident setting boundaries with people like that who are emotionally immature and historically you've shut down, over-explained, or people-pleased. So let's say you're dealing with someone who is guilting you, right? They're like, can you watch my dog? And you're like, nope, can't. Sorry. And they're like, oh my gosh, well, I really, really need it. Why can't you? I'm broke. I can't afford to board my dog. And, right. So for you, we want to get specific, right? Let's go through the steps of confidence. So what do you want to be able to do? You want to be able to say no to them without over explaining, right? Justifying, arguing, defending, or explaining. Jade, you don't want to do that. You want to hold your boundary when they push back and they keep laying the guilt on thicker, and you want to stay calm under pressure. So then you break it down. What are the steps that I can take for that? Well, you want to identify, what am I going to say? So maybe you write out, no, unfortunately, I can't do that. You do the DEAR script. You can go back to the episode on boundaries and learn about the DEAR script. But you write out a DEAR script that you're going to say, and then you practice saying it. Maybe you talk to a friend about it, and you think through what are the responses that they might have. How am I going to stay mindful and keep redirecting back to this is the focus of the conversation. I'm not going to get distracted by that. And so that you don't take the bait and get hooked. And so you practice, and then you remind yourself, you know what? I'm gonna feel guilty probably because I want to help people. I feel bad when they're in rough situations and it's like stressful, and I love dogs and I hope that they find a good, situation for their dog. But I have to accept that I'm going to feel guilty. So we want to normalize that discomfort, and I'm going to feel anxious and shaky. I might even feel like a bad person, right? And so you take these actions, you do your script with them. I mean, obviously they don't know it's a script, but you say no to them. And then you follow what we taught you in the boundaries episode so that you don't get hooked by them. And yeah, you feel like stressed out about it and you feel guilty, but you know that this is aligned with your values. You're not going to be taken advantage of. And yeah, you don't know the outcome. This is a risk. Maybe they are going to judge you for this. Maybe they're going to think that you're selfish, right? But you're engaging in this because you trust yourself, right? Because you know that you're not a bad person, even if you feel guilty. Maybe you tell yourself, okay, even if they react badly, either way, I'm okay. I can take care of myself. I have a friend on deck who knows I'm about to have this conversation, and I can call them after and talk about it. Maybe I'm going to go for a run to get the stress out, right? And then when it's all said and done, celebrate the win, right? What are all the ways, what's all the evidence that I did great? Even if the conversation was a train wreck, right? I still did the thing. And them feeling negatively about me isn't a failure, right? My success is that I did the thing. So I stayed grounded. I stayed aligned with my truth. I was courageous, right? And then over time, you are going to develop confidence in yourself with that. I will say that now my hard conversations with people, it's not like it's fun. It's not like I love it, but I trust myself so much more, and I'm so not attached to the outcome because it's just, I have to stay centered. That's my number one value that I align with. So that's the episode. In summary, confidence is something you develop. It's not just something you have. And feeling fear and doing it anyway and being courageous is part of it, right? Taking action And building evidence is part of it. Learning how to trust yourself because of that consistency over time is part of it. And you can't do any of that unless you get moving, unless you take action. It's okay for you to feel vulnerable, right? I think we associate confidence with strength and vulnerability with weakness, but actually confidence is being vulnerable in action.
Yeah.
Right? So confidence is similar but different than self-esteem because it is domain specific. It is specific to that one thing that you are wanting to gain confidence in. And yeah, you build it by showing up again and again in ways that align with who you want to be. So that's where it overlaps with the self-esteem. And so this week, just think about what is an area that you want to build confidence in, and what is one teeny little thing that you can do to take action. Then reflect on it, identify the evidence that you were successful, celebrate it, and know that you're on track to becoming more confident there. Thanks for joining us today. We hope you've enjoyed this episode. Follow us on Instagram at selfcentered.pod or connect with us at selfcenteredthepod@gmail.com.
Stay self-centered, and we'll see you next week.
Bye.
Peace.